I didn't exactly believe them when they said, like, because they've been saying this for like a year. Like,
right.
Oh, hangouts are going away. And I was,
Oh, Jesus.
Exactly.
Whoa.
and I was,
You popped up twice on my computer.
and I was, this is never good when you get a note from your wife and she says, check the porch cam.
Uh-oh.
I don't even know if I can find the porch cam. Let's see. Oh, by the way, if you got this part of the video, you've got the live unedited edition. Home Gadget Geeks, June 20th, 2019. Checking the front door webcam here because my wife said, hey, look at the webcam. So I'm doing it. Let's see what we've got. Here, we'll flip it this way. We are in pre-show for the now it says restart my computer. Here, we'll pick a time and let's restart it at what says 11:30 p.m. today. So that'll be fine.
There you go.
So we'll just let that go. I was installing about an hour ago. I started installing 1903. I thought, it'll take about 10 minutes. No, it's been running for the last hour and some change. So, okay. So I don't know what I'm looking at. She said, check the front porch cam.
Nothing there.
I don't see anything there. Let's ask her why. Big warning up there on the screen. It says Hangouts on air are going away later this year for quick streaming. What does that mean? Like quick streaming? That's like, in other words, we don't want to support you any longer. We'll talk about that here in the show. Thanks, Ryan. Ryan says he's digging my shirt. It's an old conference shirt here from a conference I got in Omaha. Okay, let's see what it was. What am I looking for? She knows I'm doing a show. I don't know. I don't see anything. Do you see anything there, Mike, that looks unusual?
Okay, no, nothing that I can notice.
See. I don't.
My video seems low res.
Yeah.
Am I low res to you?
Yeah, you seem a little fuzzy.
I got nothing running over here.
Oh, Smudge. Smudge the cat is supposed to be up there. Smudge. Our neighbor's.
Smudge.
Oh, I see him. He's hold on. He's laying. You really can't see, but he's laying in the corner.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, he's our neighbor's cat. He's the greatest cat in the world. He lets you love on him, and he doesn't ask for much, and he's not needy.
Right.
It's pretty great. Did you figure out your side?
I don't have anything running.
Okay.
So
yeah, I look good too. Yeah. So maybe they're trying to make this platform bad so that people will leave.
Yeah, right. But man, this is going to be a big. I will be interested to see where the other podcasters go and what they start to use, because this is just so easy compared to doing all the polling and mix minus and everything from OBS or anything like that.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna chat about it Saturday morning. Ask the Podcast Coach. This is the very first. I mean, they've been warning us. Again, we're going to talk about this in the show a little bit, but they've been warning us. But this is the very first like service level warning I've seen on the actual service. So we'll have to see how that goes. We could go StreamYard, and that would actually work. It's $20 a month. It's not terrible. Maybe 25. Not terrible. Works out pretty well for this kinds of thing. Has its own built-in chat.
Okay.
You can push it to YouTube when you're done. That would be easy, actually. That would be a really easy. And maybe a level up. You can do quotes for people who leave, like in the chat room when they ask questions. You can bring those
nice.
in. You get lower thirds. I mean, that would be kind of pro. I'll have to, like I said, we're going to talk about it a little bit tonight, and then a little bit. Let's save it. I'll save it for that. I'm drinking I went strawberry tonight. So I'm doing Abita. Abita
I haven't tried that one.
Yeah, strawberry lager. Sarah picked these up. They're pretty good.
And I'm doing the
4.2%, basically water.
Oh, there you go. I'm doing the cross strain juice and assist.
Nice.
It's a hazy double IPA. 9.4%. So a little bit different.
Yeah.
On the higher end on this
one. A little
one.
more than mine.
Yeah. That's why they only sell it in a 4-pack. But I think Joe called on my side. I didn't even think about Duplicati on Unraid when over there checking. Sure enough, it was doing an update or a backup. So I hit pause, but Duplicati is always interesting if it actually pauses or not.
I've been pulling down, I had the Moro data box, right? So 1 terabyte local. And then it caches, so it puts it up into Backblaze.
Yeah.
And then, it only keeps the files you're actually using, probably about 750 meg worth or 750 gig worth. And it leaves some room and, anyways. Well, then I got really concerned. Kyle was like, hey, that's not really backup. Like if Backblaze went away, those files would be gone. And he was right. Like,
right.
They were in one place. So I've been trying to pull those things back down, little bits at a time and not screw up my cap. And that's been harder than I thought to get them all back, just because you got to call them from Moro data box. It calls them and then it's got to download them, move some stuff, download them from Backblaze. And then I got to write them to the HP box and then it saves them to the Drobo box. So I'll have 2 copies here. But
then you're going to pay a lot of egress for Backblaze.
I know. Yeah. It hasn't been too bad, to be honest. I've been doing it in little bits.
Okay.
I normally pay about $8 a month. I've been paying 10 or 11. So not terrible. Backblaze has been a pretty good deal, but it's taken me a lot longer than I anticipated to get that done. Mark Robson in the chat room says he just finished a canned Moscow Mule. That's actually not a bad way to do a Moscow Mule if you can get a good canned version of it.
Especially at home. Yeah.
I know. They're so delicious.
So good.
You did a mule, right? I
did one on Friday. Yeah. Yep.
Pretty good there in Havana.
They were really good. I'd have another. I'll say that. I'll have another.
Well, you might get a shot. Yeah, we've got 2 more cigars. So
all right.
Okay, let's do this thing. 407. I put it off long enough. Let me do this thing. This is the Average Guy Network, and you have found Home Gadget Geeks show number 407, recorded on June 20th, 2019. Here on Home Gadget Geeks, we cover all the favorite tech gadgets that find their way into your home. News, reviews, product updates, and conversation, all for the average tech guy. I'm your host, Jim Collison, broadcasting live from the AverageGuy.tv studios here in a stormy, it might get always, College World Series just seems to attract the storms, right?
It's a guarantee.
Count on it.
It's a guarantee. We had 2 good days on opening day. And then the rest of this week has just been rainy. We even had it where it pushed. We had to have like 4 games in one day here, I think, or 3 or 4 because of the rain delayed everything the day before. It's been, not the best weather for College World Series. Yeah,
you kind of got to wonder, we've had the College World Series here in Omaha since the 50s. So 70 years we've had them here. And I think the last time we locked in a 20-year deal with the NCAA. And you'd have to think after a while, every year there's rain delays and it screws things up and it messes up the ESPN schedule. You'd think somebody'd go, man, San Diego would be pretty nice.
I was just going to say San Diego. They should move this to where it's not going to be an issue.
And if I was San Diego, I think I would, I'd put some serious money into the NCAA coffers to get this thing. It isn't the biggest thing in the world. I mean, it's not like March Madness. It's not like the national championship for football here in the US. It's just the baseball College World Series. And it's been here 70 years. Omaha supports it really, really well, but it just rains. And then it's super hot for the championship game. It seems like always. Yep. And then that is really the mark of the worst weather we have for the rest of the year. So first part of July, through 1st of September, it's awful. Like you just don't go outside. And I don't know. Like they keep coming back. Of course, we keep coming back too. 407 times. We'll post the show with the world-class show notes at theaverageguy.tv. Don't forget, you can also join us live on our mobile app. Thank our Patreon subscribers for that. I got a little update on Patreon here in a few minutes, but homegadgetgeeks.com get you the app. Best way to listen on the road. You can catch it if you're catching a plane or you're on a plane. You can actually just stream it that way. If you're listening live on a Thursday, a bunch out there in the chat room tonight. We appreciate you guys showing up as well. But you could be doing this on our app, homegadgetgeeks.com. If you haven't joined us in the Discord group, you could do that as well. theaverageguy.tv/Discord will get you in. Lots of great conversations going on there. Mike, the news around Facebook just keeps getting worse. We're going to talk about that a little bit on the crypto side. But tonight, for the first time ever, I was kind of like, I've been hearing guys say this too. Like, I'm done with Facebook. Like, I'm done. I'm done being there. I don't want to be on it. Many of them, we have a Facebook group here, and many of them have said they didn't want to be on it and wouldn't be on it. And I'm just hearing more and more people kind of feeling that way. Do you get that? Like, it's kind of a stinky harbor.
I've been having that same vibe. I've tried. I'm now in the process of going and finding I didn't have many, but way back in the early days, I had used Facebook to log into certain services. So I'm going to try and find those and switch those over. And then I'm thinking the same thing. I'm thinking about, for myself, pulling the plug on Facebook.
Yeah. Here's my problem. I use it for work, and I would really, if I had an equivalent, we would be moving, and I've kind of put up with it, and but I think I'm going to have to, push a little bit harder to replace it sooner than later. We're in groups, and groups are pretty manageable. If you can stay, like I stay in the groups, I rarely post anything to my own site page feed. I guess they call it feed anymore. I'm not posting that much on Facebook. We use the Messenger feature exclusively as a family chat. That's kind of where the family chat lives. But just kind of as I hear kind of the stuff that's going on Facebook, again, we're going to talk about that crypto thing from them here later in the show. But I don't know. I'm getting convicted. Just reading tonight an article on The Verge about their Tampa. They have a Arizona and a Tampa contractor who kind of oversees the removal of content on there, and they barely pay these people anything. And we're talking about people who are watching, child porn and murders and hate crime, and they have to watch and remove all this stuff on Facebook. And there's just the working conditions are awful, and many of them are having health and mental health problems. I'm just like, what have we created here? And again, I've been kind of an advocate in some ways over the last couple, 3, 4, 5 years for Facebook, not pro Facebook, but have been using their services. And I don't know, the switch flipped for me tonight as I was reading that article. I'm like, I think it's time to run. I think it's kind of time to flee and be done with it. But it's so hard because it's work.
It is hard. And it's hard because, a lot of my older family members, that's how they, see pictures of the boys and stuff like that. And I know that Instagram is owned by Facebook. I get that. So I don't know if it's any better, but Instagram for me is so much more useful. The feed is actually people I follow with a few scattered in ads. It's not a bunch of just junk that I haven't followed. Facebook feed is just useless. If you just scroll Facebook, it really is it's kind of useless. Yeah. So I'm in the same boat as you, Jim. I think I'm looking to get out. I just haven't quite pulled the trigger yet.
Yeah, I'd love to, and I doubt I could get permission for this. You're not hearing the noise behind me, are you? I got some.
It's hard for me because I hear my air conditioner runs too. So right, background noise I hear outside of these headphones.
Typically, Sarah does not run anything down here. She's doing it tonight. She's on the road tomorrow, so she's doing some laundry tonight. I'd love to move to Discord now that we've been in a Discord group, and I can kind of create Discord with channels and a lot of those things. I'm just not sure I could get that kind of past our enterprise guys. And it does create a new login for people, which has always been why we held up kind of going to a third-party service. We've been kind of developing one on our own to do with our coaches. And I've been kind of waiting for that to come, and that keeps getting delayed, put behind other priorities or in front of other priorities. And I guess if I could change it, I just go to Discord. That's been, I think, a pretty good experience here.
I think it works great too. And I think, there are some other podcasts that I've talked about even where they use a voice channel that's how they record and live stream their podcast. Of course, it's only voice, it's not video, but that's how they do it, and they run everything through their Discord. I think it works really well that way.
Yeah, I'm wondering. We were talking about this too. YouTube has let me know that Hangouts are going away. I've been kind of not believing them. Just to be honest, I don't know why. They've killed everything else that's actually worked from Google, but they have been warning us for about a year that Hangouts on Air would go away. All that functionality has moved to the G Suite. I do need to do some looking because I may be able to keep this in the G Suite. I don't know, Mike. I've got some work to do, but they finally started putting the warnings up, and I just closed it on there. But it did say, "Hey, later this year, this service is going away," and this service is what we're doing right here. I'm wondering how different the experience would be. I may get to a point where we're out for video for a couple weeks, just as I figure all this out. I'm going to do some work now to figure it out. And I'm not thinking it's imminent, like it's going to be in the next week. So I'm not too worried about it. But what would the listening experience way back in the day when we did home service show? It was only audio. We were on Ustream, but it was only, or one of those services. And it was only audio. Chat room, the guys that are out there right now, Joe and Ryan and Mark, what do you think? If it was just audio for a while and would it change the experience for you? Does it matter if you have video? I don't know. I'd love to hear from you. I'd also love to hear how you're currently watching this, how many of you, and where it doesn't matter. I have this video RSS feed that I make. You guys are not watching it live. We could absolutely create this video, not broadcast it. The live would only be audio. And the video would only come out on the RSS feed. Mike, that actually may drive a bunch more video numbers. That might drive that video RSF. I don't know. Yeah. Maybe doesn't. Nobody cares, right? When you probably consume 95% of your podcasts audio, right?
Pretty much 100%. And if I am for the few that I do maybe watch on YouTube, usually I pop it up, I'm listening, and I throw their window. Sometimes I'll click over and look at them, but most of the time I'm doing other work in the foreground and they're just kind of in the background. So I don't know if it would be super necessary to have the video. If we were going to record the video anyway and put it out, we'd probably have to use something like OBS anyway, and it would be one click away from just live streaming that out. Right. Yeah. Probably wouldn't be too different. But yeah, the audio only, I think it works. But yeah, I would like to see from the live viewers and then from the video viewers, if you download our video after the fact, let us know how attached you are to that video, because that does add a complexity. And if we just did live to Spreaker and just put that on the website and you just go click, and that's we already do it to Spreaker. So there's your live audio. We wouldn't have to change anything. We would have to figure out how you and I are going to do this on the back end, right? Yeah. We would probably have to do,
Skype would work.
Skype or anything like that.
Yeah, whatever. At that point, I don't care about the video. Couple things coming in from the chat room. Mark says he wouldn't be able to share his barbecue pics that way. That is true. Although, yeah, that is true. And then Ryan says, I only do video when I can live, or if you suggest it like you did last week with the 3D printing. By the way, big thanks to Ron for him coming in and the 3D printing show last week. It was dynamite. So Ron, thanks for the work that you did on that. And so, yeah, oftentimes we show things. It's kind of helpful. That was a helpful show to show, we showed these little coins that Ron made for us. I'll talk about those here in just a second. Twitch. Joe says Twitch maybe. Yeah, if I'm going to go to Twitch, I'm going to go OBS because we're going to have to use some software to go to Twitch. If I'm going to use OBS, I'm going to go to YouTube. So, that again, this is not a life or death or ending problem. It's just like, do I want to do all the OBS stuff to make this work and then figure out how we're going to connect on the video? It's one more thing to monitor. I have the hardware to do it. I've got 4 of these 1060 cards that are perfect actually for that application.
Because you run a second machine, right? You have 2 machines in front of you that you could run. Man, with OBS, if you have a second dedicated machine, it would be super easy. Just add them into the Skype call, record the screen. You could get fancy with it and add some banners or whatever if you wanted to, but it would be really simple on a second machine with OBS if you just add them into a Skype call or something like that. It would not be difficult. But it's just one more added thing, right?
Yeah.
And it is more complicated definitely than firing up a Google Hangout and hitting start.
Yeah. No, just I thought we'd throw that out there, talk a little bit about it. Sometimes you guys like the behind the scenes inside baseball stuff. That is coming up and a decision I'm going to have to make. I don't have to make it now, which is great. I probably have, end of the year, most likely is probably when they'll kill it. In some regards, if they said by the end of the year, I say it's weird they didn't give a date. That is kind of weird. Usually they'll be like, hey, by December, whatever, of 2019, whatever. Maybe more is coming. We'll talk about this some more on Ask the Podcast Coach on Saturday, but thought I'd throw it out there. Jim at theaverageguy.tv if you've got a suggestion. Mike, because we had Ron on, he made these coins. And so I talked in the show. I wasn't exactly sure what I was going to do with them. So I looked at our current Patreon subscriber list, and I think I had 9 of you that are $5 or more subscribers. And so I just asked for addresses, and those of you in the U.S., sent them to me, and I mailed them out. So you should be receiving them. If you're a Patreon subscriber today, it's in the mail. Hopefully he'll get there. I tried, so I sent them in these envelopes here, these little padded. They didn't need it to be padded. I think these will be fine in the mail, right? They're pretty.
Yeah. Well, just a regular.
I don't know. Okay, so maybe it was good that it was padded. And then, so I took it into work, and I'm like, what's the cheapest way to send this? And the guy's, well, technically it's parcel, or whatever. And it's a little bigger than an envelope. So you need to pay it's going to be like $7. I was like, oh crap, that's not good. And he's like, tell you what, he's like, just throw 2 stamps on there and let's see what happens. So $1.10 threw them in the mail, and I'm hoping
I think that'll work.
I think so.
Yeah. I've mailed those out before just as a regular postcard.
So if you're a Patreon subscriber, you got these coming. Andy, who was a $1 Patreon subscriber, moved his pledge up to $5, and Andy will be sending you one of these as well. And anybody else who supports us at that level and goes up, that I've got enough, at least I think at this point. If not, I'll ask Ron nicely if he'll print some more for us. We'll be sending those out then for new $5 Patreon subscribers. For the new ones, we'll wait for the month to end. And then we will send them out to you as well. So thanks to everybody on Patreon who's done that as well. John Adelaide, I think, and I can never pronounce his last name, but he sent me a nice email this week. He said, hey, Jim, miss seeing you every year at the meetup. I do enjoy the show. With one kid just out of college and one headed there this year, I really enjoyed the show with your daughter. Very timely, and even at that age, she sounded like a competent or like a complete pro. Must run in her blood, John. John, thanks for sending that. I continue, Mike, to get feedback on.
Have you been passing that on to Sammy?
I do. Yeah,
good,
I read it to her.
I hope she knows that she nailed it when she was here.
No, super cool. So thanks for that feedback as well. I always appreciate when you guys send me those. Speaking of feedback, one more little bit. We talked about this last week, but a couple of you, Joe and Ed, have been kind enough to slip a few cigars our way. Mike, I'll put a picture in the show notes. We took Joe's cigars to Havana, which is our local cigar shop. Mike, our 4th time together, maybe? And is that what we figured out?
Ever, guys, not like this year, like the 4th time being in person together ever.
We got to do that more often.
Yeah.
And so last Friday we met about 3 downtown Havana, and Joe, we tried a couple cigars. You sent us the Gurkha, I think that's how it's pronounced, Gurkha, Gurkha Cellar Reserve 12 year platinum, and it's a double Robusto, which was super good. Medium to full strength on those. Comes from the Dominican Republic. Really nice cigar. We enjoyed 2 that night. Mike, any comments on the Gurkha?
It was good. I am definitely no expert. That was probably, I haven't done a lot of them, but man, that one was smooth. It was easy to enjoy, and it paired well with, I was having I can't remember the name, Jim. It was like St. Bernard's or St. Benedict's beer, which was kind of a darker stout, and went really well together. Yeah,
we enjoyed that. We had 2 that night. Enjoyed that with some with some beer. So Joe thanks that on, although not only did Joe send cigars, he's telling me in the chat room that the post office let him know he needed more postage. Is that right? Is he joking with me or is that real?
Oh, I've gotten one of those letters before where it's like, hey, this was short, whatever. If you want to come pick it up at the post office.
Oh, shoot. So doesn't sound like two stamps.
Failed you.
Oh, well, it was a good try. Well, the problem is they sent 8 out that way. I wonder if they're all going to get caught up in that. Hopefully, wow, $2.56. $2. Wow. Okay, so that's not the end of the world, but okay. Well, gonna have to figure out a different way to do this.
At least you know for the future, for the next few.
Yeah. He said might just be my PO. So if you are one of those, I feel bad. Like they're Patreon subscribers. I wasn't trying to cheap out. I was just trying to find the most economical way to send these. Like,
right.
When the guy says, hey, you can send them for $7 or you can send them for $1.10. You're like, okay,
$1.10.
Send them for $1.10.
Yeah.
So I have to get that figured out. If you did get that notification on those, I'd love to hear from you just to figure out like, okay, maybe I'm going to have to spend $3 or $4 to get them. You would think like, okay, well, it's crazy. These weigh an ounce, Mike, an ounce, 0.9. And then with a letter, it's maybe a full ounce. We're talking an ounce for $5, of postage. I don't know. The other thing I might need to do is just thin them down a little bit with the bubble wrap on the inside. That may have been a little bit too thick. Joe, thanks for doing that. Apologize for it as well, and appreciate you guys understanding on that. I wasn't trying to cheap out. It just was one of those situations. And Joe, you definitely did not cheap out on the cigar. Super great. I really enjoyed it. Good, robust. I'm kind of a flavor guy, so I like smoking kind of the flavored cigars. This definitely was just a full body, hour long, and just smoke it and enjoy it. So that was super great.
Yeah.
So Joe, thanks for sending those to us as well. And we appreciate that. That's we got 2 in a row. Ed will be working on yours. I don't know. The next time we get together, Mike's out of town. We're going to figure out in the next couple of weeks how to get together and get that done. And so guys, we appreciate you doing that as well. Mike, we're in a weird spot with technology. I got to talk to you about this because before the show, we were kind of like struggling with things to talk about. And that hasn't necessarily been a trend no, it has kind of been a trend for the two of us over the last, 3, 4, 5, 6 months. And it's not like it's not like things are not changing in technology. There's plenty of changes going on.
Right.
But it's just not, I kind of lost that love and feeling with technology over the last 6 months. Like, and don't get me wrong, I love technology. I love the changes, but there's just hasn't been a lot of compelling tech especially in the gadget space. Do you get that feeling?
Well, that's what I've noticed about all of the tech stuff that I have been doing has been kind of deeper in-depth projects, but projects on stuff that's not really, groundbreaking new tech, new gadgets. It's really reworking what I already have, my wireless network or my router or things like that. That's become what I've really enjoyed getting into. And I think that all spawned from just like what you said, the news on the tech side has not been as exciting. I think I mentioned to you that we're kind of in a weird spot where on computers and mobile devices, people are kind of they're good with what they have. In the past, we've either had, new computer hardware where people have been upgrading on a regular basis, or phones there for a while. People were getting a new phone every year or 2 years. And now I think most people, their phones are good enough for them. They've had them for maybe, 1, 2, or 3 years. And there hasn't been really anything compelling to get them to switch. And I think that's when I kind of started to lose my interest in the everyday tech news cycle. Right. And it's been more of kind of the deeper projects and things like that. But I don't think we're alone, Jim. If you look at a lot of the other big tech YouTubers and things like that, I think they're feeling the same struggle. You can see them start to get into more project-based videos on things they're working on instead of covering the latest and greatest tech. I'd agree.
Yeah. I've been listening. Windows Weekly is one of the shows I listen to a lot of on the Twit network. And today, which so would have been Wednesday's Thursday. I guess today's Thursday. So pretty recently, Amazon, Google, Facebook, Apple all have some kind of anti-competitive lawsuit pending with them right now. And I'm kind of starting to wonder, Mike, if we're just in that cycle where we flushed everybody out except the dominant players. And it's a bunch of big companies who have lots of money, who can do whatever they want. And there's no fight left. There's no kind of, and then all of a sudden Microsoft has just been a friend to everybody. Like, oh yeah, we can be your friends.
Yeah.
And they used to fight everybody, right? And it was kind of interesting. And Google kind of conceded this week their tablet kind of space and said, all right, iPad, sorry, we're done. And they canceled 2 of their tablets to say, yeah, it's just, we're just not going to go in that area. The Apple Watch has come out, and there's been a few contenders with it, but nothing the Apple Watch is dominated for sure. I see everybody with an Apple Watch, right?
Yep.
And even that's not even a battle anymore. You just it's a watch, it kind of tells time. It'll play some music. It'll do some cool things. It'll do the heart rate. I'll work out with it. None of that stuff is interesting anymore. Like, not from a cutting edge perspective. I mean, it's terribly interesting from the fact that it does it, but it's not compelling like it has been in the past, where it seemed like we were getting these new technologies all the time. I just kind of think the big players have gotten big and we've gotten a little stale. I don't know. Respond to that. Do you think that could be? I don't know. I don't know if anybody's hungry.
Well, what's funny about that is I think the news, the stuff that you and I can report on, the big headlines, the stuff that all your major tech publications are picking up on, that has slowed down, because you're right. Things like the watch have come out, VR has come out, all these big kind of iterations of things, new tablets, all the new, I'll say kind of silos of tech that have been released and have been really exciting for people to talk about. But actually, I think it's almost bigger news and better news that now the silos are there and they're really refining the software behind them. They're tuning in, right? Because like that first iteration of the watch was good, not great. The first iteration of VR. I mean, Jim, have you? And the reason I say this is because, VR was such a big buzzword. It still is a little bit, but it was really big a while back. And I tried one a long time ago and it was awful. I went over to my buddy's house and he's got the PlayStation 4 with whatever, I can't remember the name of their VR setup they have. And I played a racing game and it blew my mind. I mean, just totally blew me out of the water. I was expecting to have the same experience I had before, just because, when people aren't reporting on the little iterations that they're making to this stuff that are making them really rock solid. So I think our tech is still getting a lot better and we're enjoying it more, and there's a lot more features that are coming out. And I think there's been little things along the way. They're just not the big headline stories that we're used to with tech. I think the tech industry might have to start shifting into really covering some of these more nuanced little updates that really do have a major impact. It makes tech that was the idea of it, and when it was announced, was really exciting and everyone's excited about it. Now it's really useful and powerful. And I think the VR example was perfect because I could not believe that this was running on a PlayStation. And it was a headset and 2 little controllers. And I mean, to the point where in the racing game, you see the racer's feet ahead of you because you sit in a chair. You sit in just any chair. I was just sitting on the couch and you see the racer's feet and my legs I couldn't tell which ones were my real legs because I saw those legs and it felt like it was a really odd experience. And as you looked around the car, left to right, you can look around your shoulder. It was just like driving a car. No matter how I turned my head, it was like I was in a real car. It was giving me that view and that perspective. I mean, totally blew me away. I had no idea that VR had come that much, especially in the consumer space being on a PlayStation. So yeah, I think the news is just, we're not having the big stories that we had before. We're not having these big new launches of items. We're having some, but not to the level that we've had in the past. But I think we're missing out on some of the smaller stories.
I also wonder if we're missing a little bit on the brand. So Google's brand has slipped a little bit. Like,
I think all their brands have slipped. I think you've been onto something. Yeah.
We talked about at the beginning of the show, Facebook, right? I mentioned Microsoft's kind of been has become a friend to everybody. Apple is kind of not interesting at this point. Like, yeah, they had the announcement, WWDC. We talked a little bit about that $8,000 or $20,000 PC they put out there. They announced some new things. And, okay, so we got iPad OS, and you're kind of like, okay, whatever. It seems like it's the same song, second verse. We're making incremental updates, and these companies are just such gajillionaires. Like, you're kind of disconnected with them in some ways. You're like, yeah, you're not, you're a company, and Apple is particularly bad about this. Apple's got all this money and yet really does nothing to make the planet better. Like, you're like,
well,
guys, you could do so much more. I mean, I know that's not their responsibility, and I know that's not their right, but they don't, they're not, I mean, look, and this is Bill Gates was not the nicest guy in the world. And he was not during his heyday, he was not a great guy, and had moved on, kind of had a renaissance, and now has been trying to do everything he can to spend or give away as much of the money as he had. I don't today at Apple, or Google or Facebook, I don't see anybody in those organizations. Maybe it's too early, right? But I don't see anybody kind of in a legacy mode, right? Where it is, they now control so much of currency, and, we're going to talk about this when we talk about cryptocurrency with Facebook. But, you start kind of thinking like, guys, you could do some, maybe you could do a little more for the planet. Now, again, that's not profit. That's not a part. They don't have to do that. But that's just kind of I don't know,
Yeah, it's hard, right? Like, I always have a hard time thinking about what a company should and shouldn't be responsible for. I get it that they have a lot of money and that they need to be doing certain things, but I always tread lightly going into the world of they have a lot of money, they should be doing X, Y, Z. It's just that it gets sticky with kind of projecting, what you would like them to do versus what, it's a corporation and things like that.
No, right on.
Yep.
And they have to uphold the financial responsibilities to shareholders and all of those things. And when we look at the history of charitable giving, or like the Carnegies or the Westinghouses or those families that and there's been a gajillion of them through time, especially here in the United States. A lot of times those foundational grants did not come until much later, when these bajillionaires felt guilty, about having all that money and thought, well, maybe I could do something better for the world. I can't say I do the same thing, because I don't have that kind of money. So, it's easy down here to shout up the hill and say you should do something. But I don't know. It would be a lot more compelling to me if some of these organizations, again, like what Bill, Melinda, and Warren Buffett have done, to in their lifetimes figure out ways to make the planet a better place and a safer place, and just redistribute some of that wealth. That puts a little faith back in me. And when I look at those organizations, like an Amazon, and all they're worried about is what the divorce settlement is going to be, and how that's going to create a instant billionaire, another one, you kind of go, I don't really feel sorry for you. And so Mark says, didn't Bezos' ex-wife join the group giving away 50% of her estate? Very possible. But Jeff, I don't know if Jeff did. And so, it's one of those. Yeah. So, okay. So to come back full circle though, to that conversation, Mike, it just is hard to get excited for me anyways, just me personally. It's been hard for me to get excited about some of this tech that's coming out when we have companies behaving poorly and being kind of predatory in their marketing practices and the way they do things. And some of those things are happening, dominating, crushing, those kinds of things. And then, and I think that slows down the innovation cycle in some ways. And it's just, I don't know.
It does. And then I think you said this earlier. Whoever saw like Microsoft all of a sudden being like the really friendly, like, hey, remember us? Like, we're super nice. But we're still here and we're a great company. And it's almost like they let everyone else kind of have these little mini explosion moments. Yeah. And then Microsoft really hasn't had one in a while. And so it's like, hey, and everyone's like, oh, yeah, Microsoft, you're good guys, right? And at least that's their current their current status with people. I think
they flirt with being the most, from a market cap standpoint.
Oh, they do, yeah.
They keep flirting with that number. The stock will go up and it'll push them past everybody else for a while. Then it'll come back and $136 a share or something like that for Microsoft now. 10 years ago, it hovered in the 30s. For 20 years, it hovered in the 30s. And so, yeah, nobody ever would have seen that. So even they are not coming, even they don't have any compelling products right now that I'm just like, you kind of look at what they're doing, what Microsoft is doing, and you're kind of like, okay, the Surface Pro 99 is coming out. Okay, great. We have another Surface Pro. That's awesome. I mean, they have a few other products, but it's been hard for me to get behind any of them.
But I think Nadella has positioned them so well for the future, especially compared to a company like Apple. It's shocking to me that Apple can have the valuation that they do with essentially just being a hardware company, right? And that can't last, and it especially can't last when they have just been dropping the ball on everything. And it's really the reason, we always joke that I was supposed to be the Apple guy that came on the show, but really ever since Steve Jobs' passing, they have just lost their luster with these products, and they are not the same Apple that they were before. And you can see now they're trying to jump into this whole services stuff, and it's so uncompelling. Like, it's so not interesting. It doesn't, for me, I've looked at it. They're a little too late, and also the services don't even look that great. I think we're going to start to see that flip a little bit, and Microsoft regain that lead on Apple, because Apple, although you make a phone that everyone buys, I just don't think you can make a future strictly off hardware when you're not currently putting out the best hardware out there. Mm-hmm. If I wasn't locked into the ecosystem of Apple, they don't make the best hardware. It's not. So I'd be switching over to a different phone, but I'm kind of in the ecosystem. My whole family's in there, so there's reasons I'm staying. But I think that's going to flip. I think Nadella has done a great job with Microsoft and really seeing, maybe short-term sacrifice for that long-term gain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a weird place, and I thought it was worth mentioning, especially as we've struggled a little bit in the gadget space to kind of find gadgets to talk about. That's what we do here. And up until recently, it's been easy to do, and actually easy to find guests that are interesting and in that space and doing things. And today, finding, we've had a sprinkling Habitat, and we get Erin on here, and she's doing a great job. Although Erin's reviewing a lot of the same gadgets, phones, and she's gotten interesting with dental things, and she's got this vehicle that she's been outfitting, which is going to be super cool when we have her back and she gives us the walkthrough of that.
That's what I'm excited for. I've been waiting to see that vehicle.
Yeah. Well, but what it's kind of done for us too, in some regards, is we've had to get alternative, so, we're talking about grilling, and grilling gadgets. That has been something that, we've kind of added in some things, some cooking stuff, as we kind of think about some stuff that have gone in our vehicles. It's kind of forced us to go outside of the traditional phones, tablets, PCs, those kinds of things, cloud services. There was a day when, Mike, we used to, I can't imagine doing that today, but we used to talk about and compare all these cloud storage options that were out there, Spider Oak, and OneCloud, and, the Google Drives and all these other things. And now, like, I don't know if I could honestly have a conversation about cloud storage at this point,
Yeah, I could. I think I could have that conversation, but I think a lot of it's, like I said, too little too late. People have their services that they're using, unless, for example, when Dropbox announced that they were getting rid, or they're implementing a device limit, we kind of had a little conversation there on replacements. So when you have one of the big players make a big change, I think that's a good time to have those conversations. But agreed, they're all a dime a dozen nowadays. Just go pick one and go with it, right? Yeah. If you're going to use cloud storage, for the most part, a lot of them are going to be pretty much the same, unless you want to hear Mike ramble about my awesome Nextcloud and doing it self-hosting on Unraid, I'm always willing to have that conversation.
Yeah. Well, and it has been interesting that we've brought Unraid back around. That has been a topic that we kind of talked a lot about, and then kind of got uninteresting for a while. You've brought it back. I don't know if it's sparked an Unraid craze in our community.
I don't mean
and now all of a sudden, everybody's doing Unraid.
It sparked a fast forward 30-second button revolution in our community.
Well, I think there are some who still use it who enjoyed us coming back to it. I'm going to say that. I got a note. I got notes from people. I was being interviewed by another podcast on Tuesday night, which will go live here in the next couple weeks. And he was talking about cord cutting, and he said, "What do you think's the future of cord cutting?" And I think what I said is we're just going to have online companies like YouTube replace the cable companies for the bill. So what you paid $125 or $150 for cable, whatever that is. I haven't paid cable in so long I don't even know. But let's just say you're paying them $100, right, for your cable. Well, now you're going to pay YouTube $100 and get all the channels. I think we've essentially just traded one for the other. Now, it was a long way to get there, right? We all started cutting the cord 5, 6, 7 years ago. The piecemeal services have come in chunks. Now they're starting to consolidate. There's going to be a few winners. Those winners will dominate the market, and then they're going to jack their prices up, and you're going to be paying just as much as you were paying for cable to get that same kind of access. And you'd say, well, yeah, Jim, but I can get that stuff anywhere. No, you can't, because what we're seeing is companies like Disney come in, buy the stuff up, make it available for a time, and then pull it off the market. Yeah. And nobody has access to that. That's no different than when you had to watch a television show at 8:00 on a Thursday night to see Friends, right? I mean, so like we're almost coming around full circle to that. How are we going to cut the cable when there's no cable to cut?
Well, and exactly. And, I definitely think that the cable companies, all they have to do is they're on the verge of if they make an app as good as YouTube TV and give me the same price, sure, I'm already paying you for my internet, so why not just tack you on? The problem is they got run over with technology, because who wants a cable box and coax and an app that only runs in your house and DVR that's limited to a box in your house? Who wants that when you can have YouTube TV where it's just seamless and it just works and it's everywhere and it doesn't matter where I'm at? So if they come out and if they update a lot of their services, they could get back in the game. I think Cox and Xfinity and all of those could get back in the game easily if they get their prices down to where YouTube TV is, and then they increase their tech.
Mark Robson says in the chat room, same with cameras. The megapixel race isn't getting many benefits to the consumers. TVs, like 8K. So what? Like, that is so uncompelling, 1080p was incredible, when we moved to HD and we made those step ups, 480 and 720 and then 1080 and then 4K and then an 8K. like 16K, or what are we doing next? Like, can I even see, anyways, they're uninteresting. Like, yeah. They're not advancements in the technology. It's almost sarcastic. Some of the advancements we've had in some of those spaces. So, I've got a 128 megapixel camera. You're like, okay, I'm not sure I'd ever actually use all those megapixels. And maybe a few folks. Well, think of that PC, that Apple release that we talked about a couple weeks ago. That's $30,000 or whatever. And you're like, okay, this is for 5 people on the planet. Really? Have we gotten that uninteresting in our technology that we have to release? We got to release these $30,000 computers. And here's another point to that, Mike. Try buying mesh Wi-Fi at this point. It's a $300 bill to get in the door.
Oh yeah.
Right? Any home automation, like, now the price of the light bulbs and stuff have come down, but some of the home automation, you think about some of these Amazon devices we're putting in, it's $150 here. It's $199 there. It's $300 there. The gadgets have kind of gotten, and it's almost like they don't care. They're like, no, okay, then don't pay it. We don't care. Somebody else will. And you're kind of like, $300 for a thing that sits on my desk and has, and
gives me Wi-Fi.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's been, I sound kind of like a bitter old man is what I sound like right now. Holy cow. Off my lawn.
But there's just some truth to it. You're right. I mean, it's definitely changed.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, okay. So what is interesting though, I think, and Joe mentions this with Elon Musk, and I'm thinking even too with space has gotten interesting. And I think there's some really cool things. Now we can't participate in those things. Those aren't gadget things when we talk about communication satellites and some of those kinds of things. Just going to Mars. We can't really participate in that. We get to watch it. There's some interesting things there. So I don't know. Maybe that will spark some things, Mike, that will make it interesting. And I'm not saying it's not interesting, guys, at all. And I'm probably making a bigger deal about it than I should. But it is. It is. I'm feeling that way. I'm kind of like, maybe I'll go buy another hard drive. Like that's lately. That's been like, okay. I was telling you in pre-show, I'm like, okay, maybe I should just go buy some gadgets for the show. Like if I'm struggling with it, let me just jump start it with some gadgets. So, I started thinking, okay, what would I buy? Yeah, I'm not really interested in anything.
Yep, all tapped out. There's that list.
I could get one of those. No, not interested in that. I have 96 terabytes here. No, that's not interesting either. I could get some more GPUs. No, I got 4 of those sitting around. I could upgrade to SSDs. Nope, everything I have has an SSD in it. I got to put more. Nope, I got as much RAM as I need in there. And I've even got a couple phones. I mean, we've had some phones that we've traded in, and I've kept, well, not traded in, but I've bought new phones and kept the old ones. So I was thinking, maybe I'll get a new Android. Nope, the Android device I have works just great. Like, I don't know if so
that's what I mean. We're to the stage where everything has it works.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny you mentioned the routers. That's actually the one space, if I could suggest to people something they should get. Most people have not upgraded their Wi-Fi in forever. And I used to gawk at and kind of or not gawk. I used to kind of not like the fact that the cable companies kept, they had the $10 rental and they were forcing people to upgrade. That is the only saving grace for people having decent, okay, acceptable Wi-Fi in their home, is that their cable company every so often gives them a new box to put in their house. That's the only reason 99% of the population has acceptable Wi-Fi. If they didn't do that, and people were required to go out to the store and buy something, new every once in a while, when this new technology comes on board, the amount of comments I get at work, because everyone, you're just known as the tech guy, right? And everyone has been, okay, oh man, my internet at home is so slow. I'm like, well, what do you pay for? Like, I pay for like $300 down. I'm like, what do you get? And like 40. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, what do you got for your router? And they tell me, and it's some ancient, we're talking maybe like, N Wi-Fi, if that. So it's, yeah. There's a few areas there where some people could use to upgrade, but I agree with you. It's been kind of an interesting cycle we've been in, especially for hardware, gadgets, things like that. We've gone through, I think we really sped through some of those in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Right. For 2 years prior, we had the SSD thing, right? Where get everything onto SSD. We had GPUs, we had phones and Android and Apple, and they were all competing, and it was great. And we did still, in the time that I've been on this podcast, we have talked about cloud services, and there was enough innovation there to talk about it. There just hasn't been lately.
Well, think of the GPU space, right? So crypto miners come along, raise the prices. It's crazy for a while. We enjoyed that crypto run, and we're still kind of enjoying it now. But then NVIDIA comes along and is like, oh, okay, here's $1,000 GPU. And you're like, are you freaking kidding me? $1,000 for a GPU. And it just felt sarcastic. Like it felt like they betrayed us. It felt like, even as good as it was, you're like, okay, now you're just trying to kill us, And it gets, in a market where the companies, they sense these things and they kind of go for blood. And then, of course, they've backed off on that some and brought some of the prices back down. But it's that kind of predatory pricing. And I know they can. I know that's what they're supposed to do. Their businesses, right? I sound super anti-business tonight.
I was going to say, I was like, well, but you get to a point where, if people weren't buying them, they'll lower the price.
No,
they need to move product. So, people have still been buying it at that price. And I think really if you want to say they're taking advantage of it, the culture nowadays is that, the best and always having that, especially in tech. When you look at gaming, you have, especially with your Twitch streamers, and then the viewers want to be just like them, so they'll go out and they think they need $1,000 card. So there is a market for it for whatever reason, from how society works nowadays with getting that sort of stuff. But if I can sell it for that much, great. And if people start to not buy it and they say, oh no, I'm good. I think we've seen that. You see that same thing with phones. We're $1,000+ for a phone where that was not even thought
I remember when we thought $300 was expensive.
Of course,
you go and you're like, oh, can you subsidize this? Man, $300 is a lot. And then now we're like, oh, it's $1,000. I'll take two. I do think it makes me think, as I look at the drones behind you, like I'm not into drones. That's an area that has, although that market too stabilized a little bit. I don't know if there's that
amazing too.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
Yeah, I mean, DJI owns it right there. DJI is the premier player in that space. But the improvements to drones, we haven't covered that much. I think just because that's an expensive thing to experience and to review. But the improvements there are absolutely insane.
Yeah, I haven't done that. And I haven't gone into gaming streaming. So that's another area we haven't touched. There's been a lot in that area. In fact, if I had done gaming streaming, I'd have all the equipment I needed I wouldn't have cared about this Hangout thing going away because I would have had everything ready to go, right? To get it done. So there may be some interesting things that are happening that I have, just because I'm not interested in them, I have kind of let pass by. We did spend a lot of time doing crypto, right? And that was super fun. It's still really interesting right now. In fact, Facebook announced this week that they're going to do this Libra. I think they're pronouncing it, and it's going to kind of be a weird blockchain kind of currency, a stable currency. They're going to try and replace, it will be their currency to kind of help people process payments of things around the world. Listen, I'm a big crypto guy, and I started reading through some of this stuff, and I'm like, what? Like, you're gonna like, of the thousands of cryptocurrencies that are already out there, why wouldn't
you're gonna start another one?
You're gonna do it? Yeah, exactly. You're gonna do another one, and why? Isn't there? So, of course, it was super funny. So, but some of my friends at work who've been making fun of me on the crypto side lately, they were the first to come to me. Hey, did you hear Facebook's doing, like, all of a sudden it was legit now, right? It's legit.
Well, I was going to say the first thing I did when I heard that, did you go and open your wallet to see if prices had adjusted?
Heck yeah.
I was expecting a run up because of just, people, the lay person who hasn't been interested, or maybe the lay people who, just like you, were kind of down on crypto. Maybe it, re-energized them and got them interested again. They went and got back into it. So there wasn't, I at least I didn't notice a huge or really any uptick, maybe a slight uptick after that announcement, but nothing substantial.
Well, Mike, I know we've been saving this for post-show crypto, and I love this Facebook excuse to be able to talk about it during the regular show. But what's been super interesting, I'm looking at my portfolio now, and, Bitcoin is at 9,700 all of a sudden. And it's not like the major spike that, where we would see these during that, the fall of 2017, we would literally see $1,000 increases in Bitcoin a day.
An hour sometimes. I mean, yeah.
And you'd be like, what's going on? It wasn't that long ago, we were talking about $3,000 of Bitcoin. And that's 3 times. It's now Bitcoin quietly has moved up almost 3 times. In some cases, if you go all the way to the bottom, it's right at 3. But it's done it in a gradual kind of stock market like ways, which is really weird. It's drug Ethereum and some of the other coins along with it. But as I kind of look at the portfolio, I'm like, hey, like, this is interesting again. This is kind of cool. So is Facebook jumping on in this market now with Libra? And, they've got, I think, Uber and PayPal and MasterCard behind this as well. Yeah. So, which is what the crypto market needs, just to be honest. It needs some legitimate players taking part in this thing to make it happen. It needs some of that to make it happen. But man, things are pretty nice out there. Like if you missed a good run, if you'd gotten out, if you'd quit and got out, you missed a pretty sweet little run.
Yeah, and it's still slowly just incrementally going up.
Yeah. Now, as soon as you buy, I'm talking to you in your car, you're driving to work and you're like, oh, I'm finally going to buy. As soon as you buy, it will just plummet. So
that's how it works.
That's
especially we've learned this. People don't buy don't buy tonight, buy tomorrow morning, because Friday mornings.
Yes. Yeah. Don't
after
buy
our show, after we talk about it, is when
Saturday might even be better. CNBC had an article that said Bitcoin is the digital gold, but Facebook's Libra is going to be the digital dollar. And so it's interesting, the comparison between those two, where, Bitcoin has always kind of been seen. I know they've been wanting to see it as transactional, and it's been tried as transactional, but it's so volatile. The fact that we're saying in the last month it's gone, or 2 months, it's gone from 3,000 to 9,000. That's way too volatile for a currency. As good as it is for us, right? That's acting more like gold.
Have we gotten to a point, though, where we're trusting major media to even comment on cryptocurrency yet?
Are you saying CNBC is not trustworthy, Mike? Is that what
I'm saying they're trustworthy. I'm saying, do we trust it? But I don't know. I have never, when you read a major news outlet's article on crypto, it's like, I don't know who they had to write it. Like, hey, you're kind of into tech, right? Yeah. Okay, can you write this on blockchain? Because none of us know what it is. Yeah. So I don't, making a claim that Facebook Libra is the new digital dollar, that's bold.
Well, I do.
To be fair, that's the headline, and I haven't even read the article.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
Judging off that.
It's actually interesting, whether it is or it's not. That's their intent. Is we do need for. I think we'll have Edward back on here in a couple weeks, maybe, to try and straighten some of these things out. But we do need it. If it's going to be some kind of currency, it can't be flying all over the place. Like a pizza can't cost $15 today and $45 on Monday. Right. You can't have that. Like, that doesn't work. That's Venezuela. Right. And so, you got to have some stability. The weird thing is there are a bunch of stable coins out there right now. Like, there's already some blockchains that are tied to things, or that where they're trying to keep that stable. A Stellar would be an example of one of those, right? Where, it's trying to Stellar, if I can say that right, Stellar Lumens.
And Coinbase really out behind that one.
Yeah. And so there are some out there. But they need that to be the currency. So as Facebook progresses with this, and this is going to be front and center, it's maybe not gadgetry, but I thought it was interesting because we talk about crypto and it's in the tech space. Be interesting to see if this goes anywhere. I honestly think, Mike, a year from now, this will be a dead issue. I don't think it's good they're talking about it. We're going to need more of these kinds of things to happen. Yep. I think this is kind of a non-starter.
I was just going to say, I don't know what's going to happen with this one, but what I do like is what you just mentioned is the conversation is hopefully flipping from investment, making money, to using blockchain cryptocurrencies as an actual medium to easily transact and exchange value across borders and with very little friction. I think people are starting to, because with this, that's the whole idea, right? Is frictionless transaction, moving that value across. Yeah. So hopefully the script starts to flip a little bit, and we've been talking about that for a long time. It needs to get to that point where it's stable, it's not volatile, and it really just becomes the best medium to transact value. Mm-hmm. And so maybe news articles like this, maybe announcements like this will start to get kind of the mainstream talking about it in that way.
Yeah. Well, and what we've seen exchanges kind of come and go. The shysters have gotten kind of wiped out or have left. Right now, some of them will start coming back as the money is coming back. But during that downturn, kind of the weak and the dishonest. I'm not saying there's not dishonest people out there, but many of them, there was no money in it, so they went away, right? And we saw a couple companies. We've mentioned them a bunch of times, but Coinbase has been one that I've kind of liked. There are a couple different ways to do this. Who've kind of come on and expanded their services and made this a little more stable. And, where you were thinking, I think some people told us a couple of years ago, this will never last, or this is kind of dumb. I've even said that, like, this is kind of dumb. Like, I've said that a bunch. you start kind of thinking, this thing may do something. Who knows what? And I'm not saying we're all going to be rich because of it. I'm actually kind of hoping, I'm kind of hoping some of us get rich over it. Wouldn't that be great? Right. You're going to have to pay half of it in taxes here in the United States. But it's getting a little more stable and a little more interesting. The fact that a Facebook and a MasterCard and an Uber and a PayPal would get together and say, there could be some benefits to this thing if we could get people using a more universal system. We deal with this at Gallup where I work is we have money all over the world that you try and get back into the United States for whatever reason. It's super expensive, and the tax implications of it and some of those kinds of things. Yep. Could it change if we had a more stable global currency? And I'm not saying a one world currency. I'm just saying a common currency that could be transacted globally. I don't know. Sounds kind of interesting to me. So I think I think this is worth following. Like I said, I think a year from now, this will pretty much be a moot point, but I think it's kind of interesting as well. Jeff is asking, what happened to the Apple Card that was announced too? Has that
coming out still this summer? Yeah, okay. I think we'll probably see it sometime in July. Now that we have WWDC out of the way, I think we'll start to see that kind of ramp up. I'm on the news alert for it. I said, alert me when it's available. So when we know about it, you guys you hear about it. So because I signed up, I'm gonna get it right away. So I'll be the Home Gadget Geeks tester of the Apple Card. So who knows if I'll actually use it as my everyday card, but I'd love to, test that out. That's the kind of tech that I'm really interested in. To go back to our old conversation, this is cool new tech to me, is that a credit card deeply tied into my phone with Apple Pay, with the app that it gives you. And so I'm really interested to see exactly how seamless and how useful it is and how beneficial it is to, my financial health.
Yeah, for sure. You had mentioned some router stuff, Wi-Fi stuff. That did you get your point across in that, or are you still looking, or what are you doing with that?
No, I was just I put a note in here for Jim because you guys always make fun of me. I'm so ADD on my stuff and I switch at a drop of a hat. So if you are following along in the mic router saga over the past year, I don't know how many I have used. I am back to Untangle now. So I switched back. I left the Unify or Ubiquiti USG. It is a Unify product. I had been using that for about the last month or two. Went back to Untangle now. I tried putting on, just so you guys know, because Untangle does have bridge mode, you can put it between your router and your main switch, and you can still get all because I really wanted the filtering, the content blocking, the statistics, right? All of that, the intrusion protection system. Because the one thing about the Unify USG is that it's so underpowered, you can't really do intrusion prevention without drastically reducing. I think it takes that device down to only like 85 megabits per second throughput. So it would have been crippling my internet speed. So I wanted that bridge mode though. They have a workaround, but they tell you not to do it. And I found out why they tell you not to do it for VLANs. If you run VLANs, so if your router has VLANs that you are setting up across your network, and then you're putting the Untangle device in between there in bridge mode, it was just flaky. It didn't work well. So I was like, I kind of want this more than I need the dashboard of a USG. So I swapped it out. So I'll let you know next week what I'm using next week. But this week I am using Untangle as my router. And when I went back to it, it was kind of like coming home, Jim. Yeah. I think Untangle has been my favorite of them all. And I keep going out and trying different things. I went back to PF Sense for a bit after Untangle. And every time I come back to Untangle, I'm like, no. Like, I just really like it for some reason. I don't know why I keep giving it up and trying other things, mainly just because I have technology ADD and I need to just switch things out every once in a while because I get bored. But Untangle feels like home to me. I kind of like it.
So last night we recorded Cyber Frontiers 56, I think, and Christian's on, and I was telling a story. You got me thinking with the router conversation. I was telling a story. Saturday, we had a garbage truck lose its brakes and run into a telephone pole here in the neighborhood, which is super random. Like, does that really still happen these days? I kind of told Sarah, like, I wonder if there's something more going on. Like, do you ever hear of anybody in a garbage truck losing control and hitting a power pole anymore? Like, really in our neighborhood, really like, there's something more to this, like, whatever. Anyways,
Jim's getting his tinfoil hat on,
Just saying, it's just the weirdest thing. Like, you never hear that anymore.
Yeah,
So
you're
took
right.
out the pole, power went down 5 a.m. She heard a racket. She woke me up. Didn't really need to, but she woke me up. Hey, the power's out. I'm like, it's 5 a.m. I could still be sleeping.
I don't
like,
need the power to sleep.
Exactly. My phone's got a battery on it. The alarm's gonna go off. I'm gonna be just fine. I didn't say any of those things. I was like, oh, the power's out. So she's like, hey, the UPSs are beeping downstairs. So I come down here and shut everything down. PCs were still running, by the way, so I could gracefully kind of close things down. Then I went back to bed, and so I got up at 8:30, and she'd gone out to run an appointment about 8 maybe. I guess I didn't get up. Maybe I got up at 7. By about 7:38, the power comes back on. I'm like, sweet. So I come down, turn all the computers on, no internet, and that same pole had the Cox wire on it that ran internet, and so had to call the Cox guy out, and they had to string new wire, and they were there for a while. I went in, I had to do Ask the Podcast Coach. So I went to work and just did it there. But it got me thinking, Mike. I was like, I don't really have a good redundant backup if there's a major internet outage. I didn't really, I usually just jump on my phone and I'm okay. But what if I needed, I got some crypto running that went down for 6 or 7 hours because, I didn't have an internet connection. That could have been, if I could have got my phone in between the modem and my router, my wireless router. So Christian was like, just build a Unraid box and, then put a Wi-Fi card in there, and then you can turn your phone on and use the Wi-Fi source to the phone. You're not going to get great throughput, but it'll be good enough. Could I use Untangle for that? Could I do the same thing with Untangle, Mike?
Yeah, and actually you can. So, and if you really want to get geeky with it, Jim, you could. So Untangle actually has built-in WAN failover. So if your main, you tell which one's your main, and it'll cut over to another one if it were to fail. Well, what you could do is you could put just an old PC or something that has both Wi-Fi and Ethernet, and you could connect the Wi-Fi to your phone and tell it to share the internet through your Ethernet and have that routed into Untangle, and your whole network would be back up. Now, obviously limited to the speed of your phone, but that's been my plan because I do have the Verizon full unlimited plan.
Yeah.
The tethering, I think I can get, at least, I don't know, before they cut me down, it's like 25 gig or something a month. So that is my backup plan. Although I haven't tested it because I'm always like, oh, I'll take my laptop over there, Wi-Fi, share Ethernet, and I'll pull the WAN cord, plug the new cord in, and I'll be good. So I've been thinking about testing that, and I might, now that I'm back on Untangle, try it with the WAN failover and see how well it works.
Yeah. Joe says that last night we were talking about this, and Joe was listening, and he said, and I had mentioned the Bitdefender box, and he said right after that, or he said, I had a Bitdefender box ad show up on my Facebook feed last night right after the show. Like, guys, they are so spying on us. Like, okay. With that being said, then it looks like maybe Paul Barron has a solution as well. I'll have to go over to Tinker Try and see what he has set up for that as well.
I would love to know if there is a like the cards you get from Verizon and everything that connects to their network, but then has an Ethernet port on the out port, essentially meant for this type of thing. I bet you could for those sorts.
Yeah, because you just basically need a Wi-Fi receiver, and it's going to just it needs to be included on the network, and then it just says, "Hey, I'm getting this," and it's a bridge. Right, it's a bridge between that and the wireless router.
Speaking of this, you guys really should go out and check out. The best person I found who did a video on it was Linus Tech Tips. They did a video on the guys who won the IBM challenge. I'm totally blanking on the name of the IBM challenge. Jim, maybe you know. It's the challenge that IBM hosts, and people come in and they develop something, or they come in with an idea. They submit an idea for something that can improve the world using technology. And this year's was really cool. It was essentially a system, they call them ducks, and they are these balls that float, and they all are Wi-Fi hotspots, essentially, that you deploy in situations of a flood. So especially in Houston, you dump and all these ducks across, and as they float around, they create a mesh network, not to give internet, but it creates, if you were to connect to your phone, it gives you one of those splash screens. Like at the hotel, it gives you like the login page. Well, the actual login page is a emergency submission form where I'm here, I need X, Y, and Z services. It loads your GPS coordinates, and it's essentially this network, because during a flood, a lot of times your cell network's down, everything's down. So they dump these ducts, and they create this huge mesh network across a city, and you essentially have emergency response services available, and you have a system to track people's request for help. And I thought that was extremely cool, really fun way to, and these balls, they went into the technology. I think it's essentially like an Arduino board with a Wi-Fi stick, and that's it.
Battery.
And I mean, and a battery. It's really nothing too crazy, but it's the implementation that was really cool.
Yeah, put the battery on the bottom to get buoyancy, or to get your keel right on these things, so they'll stay afloat nicely, and then your Arduino board on the top with a little Wi-Fi signal and some software to do the job. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was a really cool solution. And I had never heard of the IBM competition before. And someone should put it in the chat what the name of that competition is. But a very cool one. Like I said, Linus Tech Tips has a cool video where they went and they actually looked at them and tested them out. And it was pretty cool.
Yeah. Ken, thanks for the link. Ken had put the Tinkertry solution that Paul had come up with. I'll throw that in the show notes as well, so folks can get back to that if you two are looking for a way to back up your. Why didn't that paste? That was weird. If you have internet outage and you could use your phone for it, that's be something to look at as well. Mike, one more thing before we go. Plex sent me a note. Many of you guys, because way back to the very beginning when we were talking about cutting the cable, and many of you have gone to Plex for that. I got a letter, and maybe you did too, where they said they're making changes to how the guide data is curated and delivered in Plex beginning on June 30th. So just here at the end of the month, Plex will require Plex Media Server version 1.16.1 to maintain the EPG data. That's the guide data overall. Like for TV and VCR functionality, users that don't upgrade by the above date will begin losing guide data starting July 1st. Since part of this process involves matching your current channel lineup to the new channel lineup, as well as matching any recordings that may have already been scheduled, we strongly encourage all users to refresh the program data after updating Plex Media Server, and then review their channel lineup and scheduled recordings. If something is amiss, we recommend deleting it and setting up the DVR from scratch. That's not great, but okay. If you encounter problems, of course, visit our forums. So Plex users, a good one to know, by the way, Windows Media Center still getting guide data, and we have about 6 months. I'm just saying, Windows 7 Media Center, Windows 7 still getting guide data. 6 months before Windows 7 is completely out of support. I don't think I care, to be honest, but we'll see how that goes as well. Mike, anything else before we go?
Well, along that note too, a good reminder to every time you do that, anytime you have I need to go in and change something in DVR, because we don't think about it in Plex, we set it and forget it. Go and rescan on your antenna. You never know. Sometimes, the FCC just had some big announcement like, remember to rescan every once in a while, because the channels change, and especially recently they've been changing or they've been adding new channels. So it's always good every, once a quarter, maybe twice a year, go in there and rescan and see if anything's changed, or see if your location maybe gets a new channel that you didn't get before. It's always kind of a fun little thing. I always like try and count. I'm like, oh yes, I had 21 before. How many channels do I get now? 21 again. Okay, I'll try again.
Still 21.
Still 21.
Still 21. I mentioned on the show I dropped my Plex Pass. We weren't using it enough, but I think I'd paid through middle of July or something, so it's still working. And the other day I was like, I wonder if that still works. So I went on my PC here, I went to the Plex server, which is on the NVIDIA Shield, dialed up some TV, and I watched some Gilligan's Island. I mean, who doesn't want to watch Gilligan's Island off Me TV? And it worked great. I mean, I was like, okay, well, that's going to be, if we have to go TV, that'll probably be if all of a sudden guide data stopped working or that PC stopped working, we would probably switch over to Plex full time. Although, man, YouTube TV is super compelling, Mike.
It is super compelling. It's been I still have Plex running as my backup when I need to do other things, but YouTube TV is our solution. We really like it.
Yeah, super good. A couple reminders before we go. One, don't forget, we thank our Patreon subscribers. If you want to get in on the Coin Club and not only pay me money, but then pay me more money for postage. Jeez Louise. Dude, I feel like a douche. God Lord, how can I have done that? Well, anyways, I'm sorry. I apologize. Joe, I especially apologize. He sends us cigars and then I make him pay postage for these things. God, thank you, post office. I would have paid it. I wasn't trying to be cheap. It just, anyways. If I'll make sure I get the right postage on it when I send it to you as well. But for a $5 Patreon, just jumping that in there in a month, and we'll send you out one of these. And we appreciate you guys sponsoring the show. Hopefully, it'll allow me to buy more tech gadgets that are be more interesting, and I won't complain like an old man to get off my lawn around technology. So we appreciate you guys sponsoring us that way through Patreon. Don't forget to join the Discord group, theaverageguy.tv/Discord. You can send me an email, jim@theaverageguy.tv. Don't forget the AverageGuy.tv platform, both web and media hosting, powered by Maple Grove Partners. You know that's Christian. Get secure, reliable, high-speed hosting from people that you know and you trust. He's got plenty of room, by the way. He told me last night when I was recording him, like, hey, they're ready for some new customers. So hosting as little as $10 a month and some pretty great stuff. WordPress optimized and podcasting friendly. MapleGrovePartners.com. And don't forget, you can also listen to us on our mobile app, HomeGadgetGeeks.com. Get you there as well. We are live every Thursday, except program note, really important. Don't turn this off yet. I'm not talking about HelloFresh. Okay, don't turn this off. I'm not talking about HelloFresh. Next 2 weeks, we're off. So Mike, I'm off 1 week and Mike's out. It's 4th of July, which is where we try to blow our fingers and toes off our bodies here in the United States. 4th of July is on a Thursday this year. We're going to take 2 weeks vacation. Maybe when we come back, there'll be some more interesting things. Although we found an hour and 10 minutes worth of things to talk about, Mike.
Mainly to complain about the things that we didn't have to talk about. But, maybe we'll come back, rejuvenated, a lot of energy about some hopefully some new stuff comes out in the next 2 weeks we can talk about.
We do. A little vacation. I'll actually use that time to schedule some guests. We got Mark and Mike coming back to talk about some grill tech and some barbecue stuff. Asked Mark to come back with, and he had to leave the chat room, but come back with some recipes. Like, let's talk about some actually food that we go, some of the food that he's doing. Cause I think that's the interesting next step, Mike. It's great. We have pellet things, by the way, barbecues have gotten. I was out shopping for grills.
I was wondering if you did because we talked about this.
I know. I didn't pull the trigger.
You didn't pull the trigger. Okay.
Talk about a bubble. I never thought I'd spend $900 on a Traeger.
Yeah, they're expensive.
Ooh, I just said that. Now it's going to show up on my Facebook feed. Yeah, they are expensive. I don't know if I'm going to do it, but beyond that, what can we do once we have them? So those guys are going to come in and we're going to talk a little bit more around the food prep and some of those things as we kind of get into the dog days of summer. We'll be back in 2 weeks, 3 weeks or whatever. We're going to take the next 2 weeks off. So back in 3, if you're listening live, stay around a little bit, maybe a little bit of post show. We talk crypto in this one, so we probably won't do a crypto post show. We'll see you back in a couple weeks. With that, we'll say good night, everybody.
Did I stay blurry the entire time?
Well, you were going in and out.
Yeah, and Duplicati's not running anymore. I don't know what's running, or maybe it's Google Hangouts not liking my computer tonight because everything else is running fine.
Andrew says we have his permission to miss a week or 3. It's the only way he ever gets to catch up. Yeah, it's probably true. I hear from a lot of listeners who are like, I'm 3 or 4 weeks behind. That's okay. This will give everybody some time to catch up.
Yeah.
I've been sleeping a lot more.
Said it was my Untangle.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, right. The one time I switched back to Untangle, it's
anti-podcasting is what it is. It's like, oh yeah, no. There's something weird about it where it's running some processes that are slowing down here. I've been sleeping a lot more. I mentioned that. And,
yeah, you did.
And God, that's super good. But then I started working out too. And that's super hard. Like it's been a while since I've been this like sore, and you get old and it just takes longer to recover.
But only for the first week. And then you'll get back into it.
Gets better. Gets better. Yeah, I did some push-ups the other day and it felt good when I was doing them. And then the next day I'm like, I felt like a T-Rex. I can't move my arms. I can't move my arms.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Oh, I'm gonna, Mike. I'm gonna try. So I kind of need challenges, right, to kind of keep me interested in things, physical events and stuff like that. So that trek up the tower, 40 flights up the First National Bank building. I've done that now 11 years in a row. Just that's been my race. It's just what I've done. I got a hole up here somewhere, up in here. I think you can see
those are all Trek the Tower?
Those are all, many of them are Trek ribbons there. I have 10 of the 11. I lost the very first year somehow, but they have a vertical mile challenge. So it's 10 and a quarter, 10 times up, 10 and a quarter during the day. So I think I'm
10 times up?
10 times. Mm-hmm. So 400 flights instead of 40. So you go up, take the elevator down. You go up, take the elevator down.
10 times.
Yeah, 5 times. You do that, twice, 5 times.
Yeah.
So, I'm actually kind of excited about it. I did it last year. I need to run about a 20-minute pace to get that done on time. Last year we did a 12. So, and I was fine. Like I got to the top and I was like, I could do this a couple more times. It means I'll need to train a little bit harder. And every pound I lose is like, that's one of those kinds of things where weight matters.
Yeah.
So it'll encourage me. In my 50th year, I probably put on 50 pounds. Not really, but it sounds impressive.
Of pure muscle.
Yeah, I wish. If fat is muscle, then yes. Okay. So that's coming up. And then for Father's Day, I was going to show this during the show, but I thought it was too cheesy. So they got me this hammer. Like, I'm like, okay, like, so it's a little tiny hammer. What am I going to do with a little tiny hammer like this? They said, but wait, there's more. So the handle comes off and it's a screwdriver. And you're like,
and then does the end come off?
Hold on. But wait.
Okay.
Hold on. If I can figure out where there's another. Oh, yeah. The bottom of this, there it goes. That screws off. And there's another. So it's a flat tip. Then that's Phillips. But wait, the bottom screws off and it's a little tiny flathead. So it's like that Russian doll.
And then that one comes out too.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's a smaller one. Take that bottom on and then take the bottom of that
out. Wait,
yeah.
You're right.
No.
I didn't see that.
Jim, because you know why I'm so excited about this? Yes, because my parents had one of these in their junk drawer when I was a 5-year-old. And I can't believe I didn't lose a piece for them. I played with this thing. I don't know why I found it so intriguing as like a kid. My parents, it was gold though. It was like brass back in the day. They had a brass one. And you never used the hammer portion. That was never used. It was but all the pieces on the inside, super useful. Look at all those different sizes you have.
Yeah, it's like a Russian, one of those Russian dolls.
I want to know where you got to let me know where they got this. I'll probably just Google it. But
probably just Walmart.
Okay. I loved that thing as a kid.
Yeah.
So as you started, it's the same exact design. That's how I knew the other one came off.
Oh, that's so funny. When you saw it, you were like,
it's instant memories, instant childhood memories.
That's one of those. And then, so they also got me these are Hyper Tough. It's a tool line, right?
Okay.
Hyper Tough. So then this is an O-ring hook scribe set. So these little hooks, if you have to go in and pull an O-ring out over something, sometimes it's hard to get that O-ring out. Although I thought, if I need to do some dental work on myself here down at the desk,
that's what they look like.
It does, doesn't it? It's kind of like
your teeth over there,
I know. So, but you can never. My son said the mechanics in his shop, they use these a lot for. You get something stuck in an area or whatever, you can grab these and they've got nice hooks on them where you can grab.
That would be great for getting stuff between the seats. All the stuff that slides between your seat and your console. That'd be a great tool.
Yeah, no, you can never have enough of those tools. You can't live without enough Sharpies. So True. They got me a couple of my own Sharpies. I've been using more and more Sharpies when I'm doing wood stuff. I'm building a new handrail out front, and typically when I'm using that kind of lumber, I like to use a Sharpie instead of a pencil for those.
Yeah.
They got me a new, because I broke the other thermometer. This is probably not the best one in the world. I'm not going to say it too loud, but they got me a new digital thermometer too, because we broke the other one. I think it'll do in a pinch. Probably not an instant read, but you can get that. Sarah said I didn't have enough clamps. So again, Hyper Tough. I wonder where they sell Hyper Tough at. We should look this up. So a couple more clamps. You can never do. She's like, oh, you you don't have any small clamps. I've got some big clamps, but you don't have any small ones.
Yeah.
So it's kind of nice.
Let's see.
You never.
I put them on the side. I hang them. They're right there.
Yeah.
They clamp to the side.
Yeah.
And that's where I store them. And then there's more up along this side too. I love those things.
Some of these, little tiny clamps. Yeah. And then she was like, "Hey, one of those extension cords, but it's one of the braided kind, and it's got the flat piece there. So it's yeah. And so it's a little more.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it comes out at an angle, so you're not going to take up 2 plug spots with that one.
No, right on. So a little kind of emergency. And then the best part, I got some Darth Vader socks.
I like it.
Look at those. Those are just great. Like that's. And then,
dang, they really loaded you up.
They did. This is Father's Day stuff. And then they're like, you need some matches to start a fire outside or cigars.
That
could work too.
Start a fire for whatever reason.
You never like having a box of matches.
Do you ever play the flick game? You stand them up on the box and you flick it and it lights it and flips out. You do it into like a fire. Like when I sit around a campfire, I just grab the whole box and I will have gone through the whole box. I'll sit and flick them and they light as they flick. It's really fun. And probably a bad idea.
Joe thinks that that's a Home Depot brand, Hyper Tough, maybe Home Depot. Okay, and I've got one of these that is like a long wand that's flexible, but it's kind of cool when you've lost a bolt or something down. Right, everybody's got to have an extending.
Magnet.
An extending magnet. Yeah,
well, that's pretty cool.
Pretty great, right? So
Hyper Tough is Walmart.
Is it? Yeah, I thought it was.
Yep. You can also get it on Amazon.
Oh, you can get everything on Amazon. So pretty successful. I wasn't expecting anything. We never do gifts for Father's Day. But Sarah was like, and I was going to do a segment on the show, but I thought it was maybe just a little too cheesy. This is better for the post show.
I love it. That thing is actually really cool.
Well, I've got one of these, not quite this long. These are 33 inches, I think is what this thing was. Because size matters. It's a really flexible, it doesn't fold in, but it's a really flexible wand. And so you can bend it around corners and if you need to get it in places, and it'll hold its shape a little bit different than the straight one. This telescoping one is kind of nice if you have a direct shot into it or you don't have to go around a corner. The other one will actually go around a
power cord. If you're pulling it up behind your desk and you can't reach below and above, you could stick that back. It would grab the prong and you could pull it straight out.
Andrew says that I'm making you, when I hold this up to the screen, I'm making you blurry.
I turned back on my backup to let it finish.
So, pretty great Father's Day for Jim. Yeah, I gotta remember to take these socks out so I can. I think tomorrow is going to be a Darth Vader sock day.
There you go.
I'm going to wear my capris so people can see them. This is so cool that this was this hammer was like a childhood tool for you.
So many good memories with that thing. And but my parents' one, the brass one, it almost makes my mouth hurt because it had a squeak to it as you unscrew the bottom. It was almost like it makes my mouth hurt. Like those sounds that make your mouth hurt. I don't know if that's just me. I might just be a really weird guy. But as you unscrew the bottom, it had that metal on metal squeak to it, and I can still hear it back from my childhood. It's so funny that just brought back so many memories. The boys got me Hannah had said she had got it for me when I was in my tequila phase. I went through a tequila phase. Ooh. But it's like a tumbler with their names on it, with Emmett and Harrison's name on it. So really cool. And then there's a front rack for the Green Mountain Grill. It's like it's an extra attachment you can get. So they got me the front rack. So you can pull stuff out and set it on the rack right in front. It's kind of like having a big, huge tray in front of you. I'm kind of useful. I'm really excited to go out and grill with that thing on the Green Mountain.
I think if I do a grill, I think I'm going to go Green Mountain because like you have it. So if I had questions, like I could ask you what's the width of yours?
I can't remember the measurement. Mine is the Jim Bowie, the big one.
Got it. So that'd be Jim Bowie. That'd be pretty nice.
Right. It says it has that name on it. I'm not looking for Green Mountain Energy. I'm looking for Green Mountain Grills. Let's see here.
Yeah, I think it'd be nice to. I am getting kind of an itch to do more of those ribs and brisket and pork butt and roasts.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
So this one, dimensions. Well, okay. I wonder if this dimensions includes the box on the end, where you put the pellets, but it is 70 inches wide.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if that includes the surface cooking area is 658 square inches. Yeah.
I'd like to. I don't know. Maybe in the fall.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
look for a deal.
But like I said, the hard part is you're going to want. I mean, and I know some of the guys here disagree with me, but I would still want a grill, like a gas grill, or a charcoal, right? Keep one of those.
Yeah.
I actually just use a little camping grill when I need to do some burgers real quick. I just flip it up. It's one of those, like, they use the mini camping propane tanks. It works well.
Well, we do 10 burgers at a time, 10 or 12.
Right. So you're going to want, you're not going to want to do that on the Green Mountain. I'll just be honest. It's just, it's harder to get used to.
You can, though. You can.
But you crank through pellets. It's all smoky when because it's trying to keep up at 500 degrees by a smoke, which is hard.
Right.
So, it's just a little harder. You can definitely.
I would definitely, I just put another $50 into my grill.
For what?
A burner, and I replaced all the undersides because when you take the burner out, you need everything new, right? So I replaced all that down there, and I need to get a new clamp to hold it together because it gets hot, it starts bending out. So I get kind of a long threaded thing to kind of get that at Ace Hardware. It's so rigged, dude. It is so rigged, but it's so good.
Yeah, I was like, that's
so good.
It's been with you. It's got some story to it.
Oh my God. I've had it since 96, dude. I've had that thing since 96.
So you have, that grill is older than Sammy.
Yeah. Yeah. And Tim. We bought it when we were moving into the house, and we had both those kids in that house.
Heck.
And
that's cool.
Tim was 97 and Sammy was 98. So yeah. We as we were moving into the house, these are my priorities. So as we were moving into the house, I was like, okay, we need a grill. I went to Walmart and bought this. I think I bought it at Walmart. It's a Sunbeam, so I probably did buy it at Walmart. And it wasn't a particularly great grill to start with, but I've replaced the parts and I get, just the right things. This time I'm trying a combination of both those, those domino looking stone. They're kind of flat stone device, that you'd put on the bottom of your grill to kind of help hold the heat. Yeah, you probably wouldn't use them. I love them. So I have a grate on top of my burner, and then I just put them right on top of the grate. And so as the flames come up, they hit the rock and warm up the rock. And so you're cooking off the heat of the rock, not the heat of the flame. Kind of keeps the flames down.
Okay.
You get a more even cook. It takes you twice as long to heat the grill up, but then you get a much more even heat that way.
Right.
Well, I was still having some problems getting flames because they have little holes in them. And so I was having some problems with the flames creeping up through the holes, and then they would get spills that would flame up. So I bought 2 of those cast iron, they're triangle tents. They're kind of right. And it fit perfectly in my grill, and it would go where the flames would come up. It's perfect. And so I've cooked twice on it since that. And man, it's great. It is. It takes forever to heat up. That's the one problem. But once I get it to the temperature I want it, it stays there for as long as I want it.
That's perfect.
And so, it's super cool. So, I wouldn't get rid of the grill. I just use the smoker. The question I have, Mike, this is the question. So it's $900. Let's just say it's 900, maybe 7. I don't know. What do you think you paid? What'd you pay for yours?
This one is $699.
So $700 plus
whatever. Yeah. Plus tax.
That's a lot of meat, and you're like, I don't know. Am I going to cook on it enough? Am I going to smoke enough stuff on it to make it kind of,
Yeah.
That's a lot of smoking.
It's true.
Now, that being said, every time we go to Buffalo Wild Wings, it's $70. So that's 10 visits to Buffalo Wild Wings.
Right. When you could have smoked those wings and
a whole bunch of other things.
A whole bunch of other stuff.
Yeah. So, I think, like I said, I think that'll be a fall. deal. I don't know. I have a hard time pulling the trigger on some of those kinds of things. Sometimes, as you asked my wife, it's like, she's like, just go buy the thing, would you? Jeez. Most guys are trying to sneak that stuff by their spouse.
She's telling you to go out and grab it.
She's like, would you stop talking about it and just go buy it? I'm sick of you talking about it. And listen, she's given me permission, and I've been convinced on stuff like this that I'm going to buy stuff. I'll go to the store. I'll take it off the shelf. I will walk halfway or whatever to the register. I'll stop, think about it for a second, turn around, take it back. I'm so bad about that, man.
Especially when your wife's giving you the okay.
I know, right on. Like, and so I come home, I'm empty-handed, and she'd be like, "Where is it?" I'm like, "I didn't buy it." What? Like,
I know.
Why did you not buy it? I'm like, I just didn't feel good about it. She's like, "Oh, you're impossible."
Well, Hannah has the opposite problem with me. So today, she came home and I was like, "Hey, so I did a thing." She's like, "What'd you do?" I was like, "Well, you know how I finally got." So first of all, I had to buy the pneumatic drill to get the blade off that lawnmower. So that was one purchase, just to get the blade off to get it sharpened. So that was one thing. Then whatever. So then today, she's like, "Well, what'd you do?" I'm like, "Well, I went to Ace, and they wanted like $5 a blade to sharpen this thing." I said, "And with 2 blades, that's $10 a time. And if I'm doing this 2 or 3 times a year, that's $20-$30 a year." So I went to Lowe's and bought a bench grinder. She was like,
how much was the bench grinder?
It was on sale for $40. So honestly, it wasn't.
Yeah,
That's
a deal. Yeah, there you go.
That makes sense. And those bench grinders, and they're not complicated things. Those things will last a long time. Yeah. So I mean, so it was. She has the opposite problem with me. I actually proactively seek things. She's like, "You just like buying tools." I'm like, "That is true. I like going to Lowe's and grabbing tools." But I'm like, I said, after 2 years, it's paid for itself just getting these blades sharpened.
No.
So,
yeah, you know. I bought a little one of those oscillating. That's not the right word. What's one of those tools that spins and you can cut things?
Oh,
Dremel.
Yeah,
I bought a Dremel. It's just a bigger version of it from Sears. You know, it's a Craftsman. It's like a Dremel. It's just more industrial. I have a Dremel too, but then you can get a little grinder attachment for that and actually just do it right on the. And you don't get it perfect, but it's friggin' grass. Yeah. So that I've used that to just grind it in place. That works pretty well. Just put it on the edge. On the leading edge.
You don't even take it off. You leave it on the mower.
I do. Yeah, because you can get right up in there and just hold it. Again, you're not getting the straightest edge, but it's the freaking lawn. Like, I'm not shaving with it.
Yeah, exactly.
So, you know, it does not need to cut. My current mower needs some service. So I bought some oil for it. I need to change the oil. I need to sharpen the blade. So everybody's out this week. I'm home alone. So I'm going to try and get some of those things done, as well as smoke a few cigars. So there you go. That, inside the house, not really. Yeah. Well, speaking of that, she came down a few minutes ago and said, "Hey, I need to talk to you when you're done." So I should probably wrap it. Mike, hang tight for 1 second, guys. Thanks for hanging with us. Andrew Ball said he listened. He's about a year behind on the podcast, and 1 year ago I was talking about Buffalo Wild Wings, and I'd brought that up tonight. He said maybe they should be a sponsor. 1, I doubt they'd sponsor me, but 2, maybe it's just because I love Buffalo Wild Wings that much. But maybe, Mike, I don't mention Buffalo Wild Wings that much, do I?
Not too often. I think it was probably last year and
well, I was probably complaining. I probably use the same example. It's $70, $75 whenever I go to Buffalo Wild Wings. And I'm like, how did I eat $75 worth of wings? Like, how did that happen? I don't know. We don't go very much. So, guys, if you're listening live, remember 2 weeks. Next 2 weeks are off. Have a good 4th of July. Fingers and toes intact if you're here in the United States. We do want to see you back safe and secure. We'll see you back mid-July. See you guys.